Why now? Why is the federal government doing this now? Like, do we
Yeah.
know?
That's the $1 million question. We don't know. I can tell you some of the rampant speculation I've heard. One speculation I heard is that Ottawa is setting up a showdown between itself and Alberta, actually, and is going to set itself as the sort of protector of rights and Alberta as the villain. That's one theory. Another theory that I've heard is that this was basically a lawyer's brainchild. It could have been David Lametti, who was dean of McGill Law, very academic lawyer, obviously recently left PMO. This was just a hobby horse of his. There's no question that lawyers like to bring in tests and frameworks. So this was really just a lawyer's idea, and the federal government ran with it. It could be also that Carney is looking to wedge himself with Pierre Poilievre, who has said very openly that if he were to be prime minister, he would invoke the notwithstanding clause on the federal level for the very first time in relation to mandatory minimum sentences and violent criminals getting out on bail easily. But nobody knows for sure, Kris.
So, lastly, on this issue with Alberta, could this then be used, say, apart from the social issues as they're often described, say that we wanted to strike down C-69, or say we wanted to get rid of the energy cap or strike down the tanker ban off the West Coast, and say that the federal government said, okay, fine, and agreed with us, there would be a miracle, and
Yeah.
we would be able to actually get our energy out to market. In this situation, say the Supreme Court or a level of court says, you know what, I don't think so, because for whatever reason, name it, national unity or environmental, blah, blah, blah. And in that situation, the prime minister of the government in Ottawa says, notwithstanding your decision and opinion on this, we're going ahead with it anyway. In this scenario, if this goes through, then would the Supreme Court have the final say and be able to just squash it?
Yeah, absolutely. The clear implication is that Ottawa is proposing a transfer of power. The federal government is proposing a transfer of power to the courts to have the ultimate reviewing say. It says, particularly if the courts find that an invocation of the notwithstanding clause would cause what they call irreparable harm, which you could easily see in the context, or you could easily see a lawyer making this argument in the context you bring up about energy pipelines and arguments around environmental impact. They would have the final word. And again, that's where the constitutional crisis would come in, because it would come down to basically a battle of wills. Would Alberta just plow ahead with it, even though it's officially unconstitutional? Or at that point, do you just have to say, we have to play by the rules?